How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to the Cruising is Life podcast. Hope you guys are excited for today's episode as we talk about the huge and exciting ships coming out in 2024. We've got a long list of ships. Despite not having new ships from Carnival or Norwegian, we still have quite a lot coming out, including two number one and number two largest ships in the world. Today I'm joined by Tyler over at the Tyler Show and the Cruise Junkie. How's it going, buddy?
How's it going, Brandon? I'm excited to talk about some brand new cruise ships coming out next year. A lot of good ones.
For sure. Really, really exciting ones. We've got a cruise line that's just putting out their first brand new ship in almost 13 years. Princess is building a
Oh yeah.
massive ship. We're going to include Carnival Jubilee in on this list because her maiden voyage is basically the very last week of 2023. So we're going to count it. Then, of course,
Yep.
like I mentioned, we've got Icon and Utopia of the Seas coming out this year as well. Number one and number two largest ships in the world.
Oh yeah, a lot of big ships coming out. And as we mentioned, we are including Carnival Jubilee because technically speaking, when most bulk of passengers get on her, she will be in 24.
Right.
And it's kind of the same thing with Icon. Icon technically is getting handed over in a few weeks, but technically passengers don't sail until next year. So again, we're
Mm-hmm.
counting those ships on our list here. But a lot of good ships. I think we should get into it. Let's kick it off with a kind of the smallest one on our list, which is none other than the Mein Schiff number 7, a
Yes.
fantastic vessel joining the TUI Navy.
And a fantastic name, very creative. Number seven, just like her
Very
sisters, numbers
creative.
1 through 6. She's going to debut at about 111,000 tons, about 2,900 guests, and 1,000 crew members. She's set to set sail in June of 2024.
Yes, this is going to be an amazing ship. Again, joining the very original name of ships there at the Mein Schiff fleet. This is the last one in the number 1 to 7 fleet of ships. Now, again, they're not all the same ships. Like 1 and 2 are different than the other ones.
Mm-hmm.
So there are a little bit of differences there with, of course, them not being exactly the same. Like you would think that 1 through 7 would be the twin
Same
ships,
class.
but
Yeah.
they're not. There are little
Yeah.
differences. But there's, again, it's like the legend and the splendor of the seas versus the vision and the rapidity of the seas. They're
Exactly.
same class of ships, but they're different design tweaks. Nothing
Absolutely.
major. They still look pretty much the same. But yeah, looking forward to this one. Again, this is their last one until they come out with the brand new Mein Schiff Relax, which is
Yeah,
a
they
great name for
finally
a ship.
finally you're starting to get a little more creative with their names with Mindshift Relax. I believe that one's going to be a completely new class, and I think she's set to debut in 2025, if I'm not mistaken.
I do believe so. However, it still looks kind of the same to the other ones. It's kind of
Mm-hmm.
like this is a good example of what the Relax is going to look like here. It's kind of looking like, Royal Caribbean for all the cruise nerds out there. It's kind of like what the Voyager class turned into the Freedom class. They look pretty
Right.
much the same, but they're bigger tonnage and all that stuff. But no, back to topic here with the Mein Schiff 7, an amazing ship. I'm looking forward to seeing it around. Hopefully, it does come to the East Coast here of Florida. That's where me and Brandon are located here. So hopefully we'll be
Mm-hmm.
able to see her in the next few years because it's a beautiful ship and it's amazing that they're able to pump this one pretty much right after the Icon has like left the shipyard. It's amazing how they're doing things back to back. It's absolutely
Yep.
job well done, Mayo Turku. Fantastic.
Yep, she's pretty much all put together. Her superstructure is done, and she's sitting right behind Icon of the Seas, who is also done, just a little bit further along being done, quote unquote. But the fact that they were able to put in the largest cruise ship in the world and then another 100,000 ton ship right behind it absolutely dwarfs it. If anybody listening or watching, and of course I don't know if you've seen the pictures, Tyler, but I'm sure you have. But
Oh
seeing
yeah.
this little 111,000 ton ship docked right behind the Icon of the Seas, it literally looks like you're putting it looks like you're putting a little tugboat just behind it, or it looks like you're almost comparing like the Independence of the Seas to something like that Viking cruises would put out. It's just like size comparisons.
Yeah.
It's actually kind of funny. That's
It's
just
like
how
Victory One versus Independence of the Seas.
absolute it. That really is the vibe I get by looking at that picture. Again, it's not an accurate size comparison. It's more of just like that's
No, they're
kind of what it seems
close.
like
Yeah.
because it's how big of a difference and how big Icon really is.
Absolutely. I mean, photos don't do it justice. We'll get to Icon in a second here, but speaking of the difference of size, I mean, photos don't do it justice of how
Hmm.
big Icon actually is. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
you look at these photos and you're like, oh, it's kind of small of a ship, but no, this thing is massive. But
she's a
no, I
big
can really
girl.
look. Oh yeah, absolutely. But yeah, really looking forward to this. Speaking of new ships, we'll move over to our next one here, kind of wrapped up there, the Mein Schiff 7,
Mhm.
which is none other than the Queen Anne with Cunard, which is their first ship, I believe, in 13 years. Brandon, take it away.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. I didn't really think too much of it, but she's I didn't realize it's been that long. I don't remember the last one that came out or the name of it. Again, I'm not too familiar with Cunard just because they're definitely not a ship that I or a cruise on that I'd be sailing with anytime soon, and I don't have plans to just because that's an extreme luxury line. And if you guys, of course, big budget here, and
Yeah, you need a big budget to get on that ship.
for sure, for sure. And I like the more big, exciting, not that they're not exciting, but things like Royal Caribbean and Carnival puts out, that's more of my vibe. And I think my generation also, gets that more of that vibe. But there's also just a completely demographic that goes for Cunard,
Oh,
We have the
absolutely.
Queen Mary too. That's one of the last ocean liners in the world right now. She's still one of the
Beautiful
biggest
ship.
ships in the world too.
Yeah, well, another thing with Cunard, the reason why me and Brandon aren't on is you have to be all fancy 24/7 if you leave your cabin, which I don't know, Brandon. I don't think me and you can be on a 7 night cruise or however long. I think Cunard's longer than 7 nights with a
Yeah, they're
suit,
usually
a
pretty
tuxedo every
exotic.
night. Oh my word.
You know, I like dressing up. I like wearing a suit and tie from time to time. It's always a fun
Absolutely.
feeling, but I can't do it that quickly or that often. Things like that. It's just
Take a
not
step up.
quite my
Yeah,
vibe. But she
absolutely.
is a very pretty looking ship. She's a sister ship to the Holland America's Koningsdam, the New Amsterdam, Rotterdam, the new Rotterdam because there was an old one before COVID. Now after
Yeah.
COVID, the old one got sold off during COVID, and they just happened to put out a new Rotterdam after COVID. Um, but yeah, she's a sister ship to the Koningsdam ships, even though she's going to be the only one in her class with Cunard. So a little bit of tweaks, differences, different tonnage, but overall pretty much the same ship. About 3,000 guests. That's of course not double occupancy rates. Anytime we reference the guest capacity, this is not double occupancy.
Yeah.
Double occupancy is a little bit higher usually. So with that 3,000, you're probably looking at about maybe 42, 4,300, maybe a little bit more with
Yeah.
double occupancy rates. But about 1,200 crew members, and she's due out in May of 2024.
Yeah, no, looking forward to seeing her around again. It's kind of funny. Cunard visits us here in Canaveral just about once a year.
Yep.
So hopefully, I know she was actually, think, according to Caleb, our buddy there, cruise ship media, he actually saying his buddy told him that the Queen Anne was actually supposed to be to Canaveral in January. However, unfortunately, shipyard had some delays due to some unforeseen circumstances on board. So they had to,
Mm-hmm.
not come to Canaveral, which is a
Darn.
bummer. But
Yeah.
still great to see this ship, and I'm looking forward to seeing it when she does come to the east coast of the U.S. Again, a
Yep.
really beautiful vessel here. Cunard, phenomenal ships. The Queen Mary is one of those ships I would love to see in person. It is
Absolutely.
stunning from everything I've seen, and she's a fast ship.
Yeah. For sure. Again, Cunard's not quite my vibe, but anytime you see a Cunard ship, pun absolutely completely intended here, but it's like you're looking at royalty. It really
Yeah,
is.
absolutely.
Anytime you get a chance to go see a Cunard ship or you have a Cunard ship near you, you should really take the time to go see it. Um,
Oh yeah,
I think it's Queen Victoria is scheduled to be here. I don't know if she's going to be here in 2024, but I know for a fact she'll be here in 25, in
should be
March
here in
for
January, I think.
January. Okay, yeah, that's what I
Yeah,
thought.
January.
I will
Yeah.
be taking the time out of my day to be going to see Queen Victoria just because one here in Port Canaveral for sure, you don't get her very often. You don't get a Cunard ship very often, but
No.
it's you don't see that very often. You don't get a chance to see a Cunard ship every day, and that's definitely something that not every cruiser is ever going to get a chance to sail on either. It's
Yeah,
just not a normal
absolutely.
ship for most people.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those interesting vessels here. Love Cunard, love the style of or how it was founded, the history behind the line. It's absolutely amazing. That was one of the conversations we had with someone on last cruise, talking ocean liners for a second here on the last cruise. It was on the Laura. It was amazing. You know
Hmm.
the style of the ocean liners and just how again the Queen Mary too is the only ocean liner in service, and Cunard has that. Absolutely an amazing ship. It actually was designed. A funny fact. I believe Joe Farkas had a good hand in designing some of that ship.
Yep.
And if you're not familiar, he did design a little bit of the Carnival ships all the way up until the Breeze. So a lot of
Yep.
great history between cruise lines. That's one thing I love about the cruise industry, right? There's a lot of collaboration between cruise lines, which is
Yep.
always great to see.
Yeah, and Carnival does own, or at least Carnival Corporation does own Cunard too. So it
Yeah.
kind of makes sense. And like you mentioned, Joe Farkas, he designed just about almost every Carnival ship that's in service now, all the way up into I think the Dream class was his last
Yep.
project. But
The Breeze was the last one.
yep, and the Vista class was heavily influenced by the Dream class in general. So a little bit different layouts and things like that, but overall exterior and superstructure of the Vista class is very heavily inspired off of his work as well.
Absolutely
And then
fantastic ships.
and of course a fun fact about, some of his work, he was also the lead designer and he was pretty much head of the project for the Pinnacle project back in the early 2000s.
Yeah. That class was ahead of its time. It's unfortunate it
It
didn't
really
come
was.
through fruition, but wow. What an amazing things done by Joe Farkas. I mean, he
Hmm.
had his hand in a lot of amazing nautical projects here. So
Yeah, for sure.
it's awesome, great to see. Cunard, though, we're looking forward to seeing this ship.
Hmm.
But we're on topic of Carnival, Brandon. So shall we get into the Carnival Jubilee?
Might as well. Carnival Jubilee, she's
That's
one
right.
of I to say I love the XL class is a very big understatement there. I would say that the Carnival Jubilee in that Carnival XL class is probably number 2 on my list, only second to the Oasis class. The Oasis class I credit getting me into the cruise line and cruising in general back when I was a very young kid. Of course, I'm not including the Icon class yet because I want to sail on her first, and of course, I want to active cruise ship. So as of right now, that class is sitting number 2 on my list. But I sailed on the Mardi Gras back in 2022, back in March, and a fantastic ship. They really did such an incredible job, and it really issued and brought in a new era for Carnival cruising because that ship, honestly, sailing on the Mardi Gras and just everything about that ship, it doesn't feel like your traditional Carnival ship. I know, Tyler, you haven't sailed on Carnival before, but every Carnival cruise ship has the general same layout.
Yeah.
Anything from when I say the Destiny, that includes the Sunshine and all the new variants of that class, but everything from the Destiny all the way up until the Dream, of course, which was Joe Farkas's work. They all have the same general layout for the most part. They have the big atrium in the middle, which, not to say that that's a bad thing. It's a very great layout, and there's a reason why it was brought in with so many different classes of ships later on down the road, because of how well it was designed and everything. But, all of those ships have the same layout. You've got your big atrium with the glass elevators. I missed those in the new ships.
Oh, yeah.
But, you've got decks 3, 4, and 5. You've got deck 4 always has the photo gallery. Deck 5 always has the shops. You got that big circle with everything. And then, of course, as you come out of there, you've got the dining room in the middle. And then if you go through on deck 4, there's the dining room is on deck 4. And there's also just more of the photo gallery, kids club. Deck 5, you'll get the promenade on the starboard side of the ship, right? Starboard, yeah. I
Yeah, I
do my
think
left
it's
and right.
yeah.
Yeah, if you're facing the back, it's on your left-hand side. If I'm remembering correctly, that's the starboard side of the ship. So, but yeah, the starboard side of the ship, it's pretty much a grand walk down. You get, a
Yep.
lot of just stuff on one side against the windows, and you get the casino pretty much taking up the entire backside or the other port side of the ship. And then from there, you get, make your way back to just different areas like some of the lounges, bars, things like that. But I mean, that's generally what Carnival's layout is. But when it comes to the Mardi Gras and the XL class and including the Jubilee, it's not even close to like that. You get the big atrium area, but it only takes up half the ship. You've got, it's open with that big stage and the big glass windows, but then there's shops underneath. You got the candy store, the coffee shop. Above that, you've got some restaurants, and above that, you've got more stuff. You got the casino that runs down the entire port side of the ship, I don't even remember what deck it was, but it's not,
Yeah.
with the original design, I'd be like, oh yeah, deck 5, doesn't matter what ship, deck 5 on the port side, you're going to see the casino. With
Yeah.
The Mardi Gras, you have no idea in that class. So it's just the way they designed it, and honestly, there's like an elegance to the design too. It's not like a very high fancy way, but like it feels like a beautiful not ocean liner, but ship. There's a lot of extra care and just money put into it. There's like a crystal or like a diamond staircase, things, just little things that makes it feel more of like a high end ship. Not that Carnival isn't like a
Absolutely.
high end cruise line or anything like that, but of course, you just with all the older ships, you don't expect a diamond staircase. That's the last thing
Yeah.
but it was really cool to see that on the Mardi Gras. And, Jubilee is going to sail and pretty much have just about everything else. And there's a main strip on the starboard side of the XL class. You'll have like Emerald's Bistro. You'll have some lounges, things like that. There's some restaurants, bars. I think the Alchemy Bar is up one level and on like kind of in the middle of that. But that main strip where Emerald's Bistro is, they're actually including, this isn't on Mardi Gras or the celebration, but they've got like LED panels. Are you familiar with like the Meraviglia class? How they do their
Yes.
promenades.
Yes.
It's not quite
Yes.
like that. They've kind of have it like panels and they're wavy looking, but
Okay.
they're doing
So
LED panels
Memorabilia was
like
like a
that.
curved dome, so this is gonna be
Right.
more like a flat roof, or is it?
It's like
Was there
a
gonna be like a
and
wave, like a?
it's like a wave effect. So like
Okay,
they're
that's
not going to be
cool.
lined up. They're going to be like intertwined almost and like crossing each
Neato.
other. But yeah, like with the Meraviglia class, it's almost like it's just like the whole ceiling is just one flat
Yeah,
LED panel, whereas this is going to be like little wave effects to it. They're going to be doing like, probably like ocean and just water effects looking like
that's
that with it.
awesome.
But it's really cool. It's something that is not seen on the other ships.
Yeah.
And then
No,
she's going
I
to
love that
debut
class of
the
ship.
Oh yeah, for sure. And you definitely need to do that if you're going to sail on
I need to
Carnival
say
for the first
again.
time.
I've been looking at Mardi Gras, but she hasn't done a 3 night cruise. And to be frank, I haven't done the Carnival, so I don't want to commit with a full 7 night cruise. So I'm
Yeah,
looking for the opportunity for a 3 night cruise whenever that does come up, or 4 nights. So
yeah,
hopefully it comes up here shortly. But I would love to sail. I mean, I've been following that class of ship since it came to Canaveral, right?
hmm,
That is a beautiful class. I've seen many ship tours on that ship. It is a stunning. It's probably one of Carnival's like best design yet.
it
The
really
whole
is.
class with the celebration and the Mardi Gras Jubilee. If it builds on what Carnival already perfected there with the XL class, it's going to be a phenomenal vessel.
Right, for sure. And like you've been following it for a long time. I've been making videos on that ship ever since they ordered it. And that this class, I've been making videos on this, ever since 2016. I remember,
No joke.
looking back, this is more just like a nostalgia now that me thinking about it, but back when I first started making videos, I would mount a GoPro in my car, and as I was driving home from work, I would talk about cruise ships to my camera, and basically that was my cruise news segments that I used to do. I've come a long way now, but I remember around that time that it was around the same time because there was the Icon was ordered around that time as well. So I remember
Yeah.
vividly doing a video about maybe one or both of them at the same time, or it was maybe within a few days of each other. But like I remember, I think I even have a playlist. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look. But like there was a video we talked about like how they ordered a ship. There was also they finally named it. They steel cutting like I all sorts of stuff. Like I followed that ship pretty much from start to finish, and it's almost not. I wouldn't say maybe emotional, but it's very crazy to think about now that class is coming to a close. Even with the Costa ships, Aida and
Yeah.
P&O, all of those ships are out too.
That's right. No, what I think is funny is I remember watching your channel. Again, I've been a long time viewer of Brain before we kind of met.
Hmm.
And it's funny. I remember when I was littler watching you and you're like, I booked Mardi Gras. Oh, wait, my cruise got canceled on Mardi Gras. Oh, wait,
Yeah,
I'm
don't remind
rebooking.
me.
Oh, wait, that cruise got canceled. Oh, wait. Oh, we're finally going. Oh,
Yeah.
wait, never mind. Those
Yep.
good times. But no, what an amazing ship. I'm excited to see it. Jubilee, hopefully, will be heading out of Texas here in the next few years. So she'll be there. So I mean, can't ask for a better ship for the Lone Star State. I love
Mm-hmm.
also to have the Lone Star on the bow,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like the
Good little
breakaway,
touch.
with New York City. So yeah, awesome.
Yeah, for sure. She is going to be liquefied natural gas. I believe that's the first ship for
Yep.
Galveston to get natural gas. A lot of people thought that Star of the Seas, now Galveston is a provider of natural gas. That Star
Yeah.
of the Seas, which is Icon 2, for those who don't know, they think Galveston is going to get Icon 2 or Star of the Seas, which I'm sorry to say, but at least me personally
No.
thinking that's a bit of a pipe dream. Especially now that
Actually, yeah.
they recently announced that Harmony of the Seas is going to be staying there in
Mm-hmm.
Galveston through 2026. And sorry to sorry to rain on the parade anybody that had hopes or anything like that. It was more of just now that they've confirmed it. But Royal Caribbean and Carnival are completely different. They're polar opposites when it
Oh
comes to
yeah.
Galveston. That market is
It's funny.
that's a secondary market for Royal Caribbean, whereas that's one of the hubs for Carnival.
Yeah.
Carnival will they'll always put a new ship, at least one new ship out of each class that will go to Galveston. Whereas
And up
Carnival or the
until
Royal Caribbean, I don't
yeah,
think they've ever put a brand
Alone
new
was the
ship.
first big ship for them. Yeah.
Yep. They had the Liberty of the Seas there for a very long time. I don't think they've ever
Oh
put a
yeah.
brand new ship, Royal Caribbean at least. I don't think they've ever put a new ship in Galveston.
No, they haven't. And what I think is funny, so Galveston, but don't give up hope though. There still is one more Icon class ship coming out, and
Yep.
so the chances of you getting the last one, it is a lot higher than this one.
Mm-hmm.
So don't give up hope there, Galveston with Royal Caribbean. But yeah, to your point there, Brandon, though, yeah, Galveston. I mean, they have the Voyager now, the Mariner's going there, which I'm sad to have
Yeah, they're
that ship leaving
swapping.
Canaveral. It's my favorite Royal Caribbean ship
Mm-hmm.
besides the one that's on the West Coast, the Navigator. So unfortunate
Yeah.
that's happening, but we're getting Voyager and Canaveral, so it's not like that
Mm-hmm.
bad because Voyager is beautiful with that amplification. But yeah, no, I'm excited to see Carnival again. As you mentioned, there, it's kind of funny how Royal and Carnival operate in Galveston, like polar opposite in terms of what their deployments are like. Royal Caribbean doesn't always put their newest and the greatest. Carnival is
Mm-hmm.
not afraid to do that, even though to the same point with Royal Caribbean. They didn't put one of the first ones in Galveston. And then that was the kind of surprising thing when Mardi Gras was first announced that she went to Canaveral out of all places. But
Mm-hmm.
now it makes sense, right? Because
Right.
now the Canaveral is the busiest port in the country, in the world, to be frank, in terms
Mm-hmm.
of cruise ships.
Debatable, but
So
yes.
now it makes sense. Well, yeah,
From the
up
sheer
and
number of people, yeah. Again, this is a hot topic
that's
for
right.
another day, but um,
At the date of this recording,
yeah,
it is still number one. So
yeah. That's mostly because of the Canaveral having the Space Center and Disney and things like that. A
yes,
lot of the New York ships will come down, and and now that we're getting big ships up in New York, so they're all coming down as port stops.
yeah.
So they count passenger travel or like traffic. That's pretty much what's putting Canaveral over Miami.
Oh yeah.
But the sheer number of home ported ships and things like that, it's still Miami still takes the cake. But
Oh, by
yeah,
far. I mean, I'm going down there next week. When you watch this podcast, I'll be on a
yeah,
cruise right now. And yeah, oh my word, I was 8 ships there. I was like, holy cow! I mean,
yeah. That's
Canaveral most
normal.
can never have a 6 is so crazy in Canaveral, and 8, and it's like, oh, just another day,
That is
which
another
is,
day.
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm crazy for that. No, but Canaveral, and we'll still go back to cruise ships here, but Canaveral, the big reason that the ships from the Northeast come down here, not the Space Center, not Disney, it's because of our cheap food. So that's
That
why
too.
the cruise lines would rather get provisions in Canaveral than in New
Yeah.
York because up there food is ridiculous. So
Hmm.
that's the reason here. But yeah, back to the point here of cruises and new ships. A lot of great ones coming out. I think with that, we should move into our next cruise ship here, which I believe is coming out with Princess Cruise Line. Speaking of South Florida, the brand new Sun Princess. Brandon?
Yep. Princess Cruises is putting out another big boy, or one of their biggest ones. The Sun Princess debuting at 175,000 tons, so she's just a smidge smaller than the Jubilee that we just finished talking about. But she's the largest ship for the Princess Cruise Line fleet.
Absolutely massive of a ship. It's really cool to see this, right? Princess Cruise Line with the Regal Princess and stuff. I don't know what class that is, but
Hmm.
it is a Downfall Princess. Like me and Brandon,
Same
we
here.
know Carnival, Royal very closely. The other
Hmm.
cruise lines, we know a little bit. We know enough to be dangerous, right? But not like expert level stuff. So I'm not sure exactly the technical name of this class of the ship with the Regal, but even still, this is a massive change for Princess Cruise Line. I mean, one of the biggest things, like they're having a lot of neat things. The Spear class ship is what they're calling this, which I think is because of this glass dome they have on the
Yep.
sides of the ship, which is
The big sphere.
amazing.
Yeah.
Oh my word! Wow, what a venue! I'm looking forward to seeing those first real photos from that. Not
Hmm.
renders, but real life photos. It's an amazing ship. But Brandon, to be truth be told, when I saw this one feature on this ship, I was amazed. I would never expected Princess Cruise Line to put this on this ship, and that was a ropes course slash zip line slash like hang glider where you grab onto a bar and roll down.
Hmm.
Never in a million years would expect Princess Cruise Line to put something like that on one of their ships. Because to me, Princess Cruise Line, I don't know about you, Brandon, but to me, Princess Cruise Line is much older demographic. So to have like
Yeah.
a ropes course, which is often like the kids and so I would
Yeah.
never expected that, but super
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, with when it comes to, the demographic, even maybe not even necessarily the older demographic, but just they're a more traditional type of cruisers. They
Yeah.
don't go for the high and mighty, water parks and water slides and the ultimate abyss, the roller coasters. People who cruise Princess are usually going for the exotic destinations, and they're just there for a more traditional type of cruising, which is, the complete opposite of where the industry is going. So Princess is one of those, and Cunard as well, but Princess is one of those cruise lines that's just kind of keeping it the way things have always been for the last
Yeah.
20, 30 plus years for the industry.
And now they're changing it up, which again, a lot
Mm-hmm.
of cruise lines. I noticed that like look at Carnival, Carnival the XL. I mean, XL's been
Mm-hmm.
around for a few years, but still, a lot of cruise lines are shifting things up, which is great because they're building what they already know, right? They know this works. So how
Mm-hmm.
can we improve? You just look at what happened with the Icon, which we'll get to in a minute.
Mm-hmm.
That's like evolution of the Oasis class on steroids. For Princess, this is like them knowing, okay, we know this stuff works on our brand. We're going to
Mm-hmm.
take it on a bigger scale with the Sun Princess, and wow, oh wow, I am looking forward to seeing that thing in South Florida this upcoming February. It is an amazing ship with lots of an amazing,
Mm-hmm.
not to just mention the dome. They have other areas of the ship too.
Right.
Like I believe the pool, they have this cool like where you can swim from inside to outside. I was watching something on Adam Salvage. The guy who used to be on MythBusters on his YouTube channel tested where
Mm-hmm.
he would walk through with the engineer. A lot of big things for Princess on that ship with
Mm-hmm.
design, but also propulsion. It was first as a pod, I believe, on a
Yep.
Princess ship. So that's a big game changer.
Yeah, and Azapods. It's surprising that it took them this long to start using Azapods,
Yeah,
but that seems to be the direction of the industry. I'm surprised that
absolutely.
the MSC World Class has the original twin screws, which is I like to make the joke. Sorry, MSC, but I like to make the joke that MSC captains like to hit stuff. Um, and so when they have these massive 200,000 ton ships with twin screws, I don't see that going too well.
Yeah,
But
even the new like MSC, the Europa one that came out this year. I mean,
mm-hmm.
that thing is twin screwed too. So I don't know, maybe it's
Mm-hmm.
MSC not wanting to invest the money into, which you would think for an expedition cruise ship, you would want the latest and greatest propulsion. So, but
Mm-hmm.
no, I agree. It's very interesting here, and I don't think next year there is any new MSC ships coming out. Which I believe the year after there is the
25, yeah.
beautiful World America. Oh my
Mm-hmm.
word, that's going to be next year's show, but I'm looking forward to that one because
For sure.
holy cow, a lot of us, that's pretty much a topic for another day, just that
Mm-hmm.
class of ship. But yeah, Princess Cruise Line, I'm looking forward to it. Looking
Yeah.
forward to seeing it in South Florida because it is going to be, again, a game changer, revolutionizing for
Yeah.
Princess because it's bringing a lot of things that they know works and a lot of new things. So
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to see what people's reviews and reactions are to this ship once it starts sailing.
Right, and like you mentioned earlier, there's a ropes course. That's a first time for
Yeah.
for Princess Cruises. Of course, not a first for the industry. We've been seeing that since
No.
I believe the Breakaway. Actually, no, the Carnival Magic back in 2010 was the first ship to ever have a ropes course. Not as quite as big as and extravagant as the ones that NCL used to do, but nonetheless, it was the first ship to do it back in 2010. And now, Princess Cruises, Princess, the last cruise line I ever thought would have a ropes course, let alone
I know, right?
this new. I don't even know what to call this. It's like a hang glider almost, like you
Yeah,
described
you
earlier.
grab onto it and yeah, it's
Right.
very interesting.
So you're on a track almost like you are with, for those who are familiar with the Vista class from Carnival, like Skyride, where instead
Yeah.
of biking around in this little cart though around the top deck, you're harnessed in and you're like strapped up and you're hanging on to basically a big metal bar above your head, and you're gliding across the top deck here. Deck, I think it's like Deck 19 or Adventure or
Something
something
like
like
that, yeah.
Park 19 Adventure Park. That's what it is. Um,
There you go.
But yeah, that it's definitely something that itself is kind of a first for the industry because I've never seen that on a cruise ship as far in that style at
No.
least. Again, it's kind of similar to what they have on the Vista class with the Skyride.
It kind of reminds me of an Icon. We'll get to Icon in a second here,
Hmm.
but Icon, again, as you mentioned there, it's a trend. Icon has like a ropes course too, and Icon kind of has the same thing, or except minus the gliding, like you don't have to hold on to a bar. It's kind of the same thing though, like the same kind of track where it's not a zip line, it's like a roller coaster zip line thing, kind
Yeah,
of. You were seeing those on
yeah,
land. But yeah, no, pretty cool though, Princess. I mean, again, as Brandon mentioned, that was the last thing when I saw that ship announced that I would expect to be on a Princess cruise ship. But
yeah,
I see you, Princess, trying to get a
yeah,
new demographic on your ships. Good for you. I hope it works out well.
yeah. And they're also the last cruise line that I expected to be building something 175,000 tons.
Yeah, exactly. No, for sure.
That is going to
You
be
would
a
think they want
big
to build a
girl.
small ship. Yeah,
It looks like a very beautiful ship. I'd like to sail on her. Princess is not
absolutely.
a cruise line that I traditionally will go on. I've never sailed on Princess before. But of course, me just looking at it, I'd like to try it out or at least like check out the ship as far as a tour.
Absolutely.
But overall, it's a very pretty looking ship, and I believe she's got at least one or two sister ships coming out in the next couple of years as well.
And Princess is expanding their home ports too. I mean, they're coming to Canaveral. They're out of
Yeah,
Galveston again. I mean, Princess Cruise Line's definitely shaking things up, which is great to see because they're a great cruise line. I know a lot of people who have sailed on them. They have nothing but positive
right,
reviews to say about Princess. So
right.
maybe
If
we
you're
move on to the
looking,
next ship. There's a lot of ships here going on, but we move to the big ones yet? Do we go to the Icon or do we? Is there another one, Brandon?
there is another one. We have the second
Oh
largest
wow.
ship in the world. We have the Utopia of the Seas. Oasis 6 is debuting on a very unexpected itinerary. Utopia
Oh
of the
yeah.
Seas is again Oasis 6. She's identical sister ship or close to identical sister ship to the Oasis or not Oasis for the Wonder of the Seas that debuted back in 2022 after the COVID restart. Each of the Oasis class have come out in pairs. So Oasis and Allure look identical when they came out. Harmony and Symphony came out looking both identical. Just minor differences. Actually, fun fact: you can tell each of the 6 Oasis class ships apart. Even pre-renovation for Oasis, you can still tell them apart by the lifeboat configurations.
Oh yeah, you're right.
And then Harmony and Symphony, of course, are much different because of the Solarium, how far forward it comes. But then but those two are identical. But the way you can tell those two apart is that Symphony, the Aqua Theater suites are more vertical and they stretch out further than they do on Harmony, where it slopes like it does on the original two Oasis and Allure. And of course, Wonder is just completely different than the previous four. And then we have Utopia that has those bridge wings that have turned into suites. So
Yes.
it's really cool that they're kind of keeping that, which each one is a little bit bigger than the last. But not only that, you can still tell each of the 6 apart. Even, it's a lot easier to tell Oasis and Allure apart now before the renovations of Allure. And, while Oasis had hers quite a while ago now. But yeah, it's really cool.
Speaking of Allure, for the folks listening to the podcast, check out last episode. We went over our cruise together on Allure of the Seas if you want to learn more about that style of ship here. But no, as mentioned, one Utopia, absolutely amazing. I sailed on Wonder
Hmm.
earlier this year. I love that ship. It's not my favorite ship, but still a phenomenal ship. I really
Hmm.
love the changes that Royal Caribbean's made, especially in the Windjammer. That was one of the things we mentioned on our podcast. Last episode was about the Windjammer and how it wasn't as great as like the Wonder and now Utopia. Utopia, they're making these changes as I mentioned throughout this podcast. Right, cruise lines know what works and they're
Hmm.
improving on it drastically, which is absolutely amazing to see. I mean, there's so many cool changes on Utopia. The food truck, that's one, right?
Yeah, there is food trucks
That's cool.
as like a snack option or a food option. I
Mm-hmm.
don't believe that's paid to eat, which is nice.
It's
But
free, I think.
there is a food truck option on the main pool area on Utopia of the Seas where you can get things. I don't remember exactly what they are, but I know, and they also have a big ice cream bar as well that they're putting in that
Yes,
areas. That'd be really
it's
really neat to
great.
have.
Because that was one of the complaints on our Laura cruise was the ice cream machine was great, but it was in a weird spot. Like
Hmm.
there was like hardly any room, right? I mean, you
Right.
weren't with there to get ice cream. It was a very tight corner, which is again, as I mentioned earlier, each time these new classes, these new ships in these classes of ships, they come out, they're improving on what
Hmm.
works, and I'm excited to sail on Utopia. There's so many cool things coming on this vessel. as Brandon mentioned, with those Solarium bridge wings, I'm excited to see those in person, see
Hmm.
how they look, right? Because the ones on Oasis, they're not the best looking. Now they are great, like
Terrible.
they do get their job done, but
Hmm.
they don't look exactly the best.
No, they don't. And I've seen a couple pictures so far of Utopia of the Seas, as she's like coming out and becoming more and more put together and everything. She has floated out, so her superstructure is finished. It definitely looks a lot more natural,
That's good.
than the Oasis, because on the Wonder, the Solarium goes all the way up to the front, so it almost like continues that glass, just across and covers across those bridge wings. And funny you mentioned the ice cream earlier on the Allure. Some lady stole my ice cream. Did I tell you about that?
What?
Yeah,
No,
I
I,
think.
I I I know you took a little while. You were there for a little bit longer than me, but I was like, huh,
Oh,
no
funny,
way, that's crazy.
funny side story. I think your brother was hanging out with me and Justin when this happened, but pretty much what happens is that we were waiting in line to get our ice cream, and some lady, the guy like reached out and gave me the ice cream cone, and like as he was handing it to me, some lady like with a scavenger hunt paper in her hand goes, "Hey, I'm in a scavenger hunt. I need this," and then just grabbed it and ran off. I was like, "Oh, that was my
She was
ice
on an
cream."
ultimate side quest. She was like, side quest, I
Yeah,
want the
she's
ice
it
cream.
was a
That's
side quest that stole my
funny.
ice cream, man. I was like, what the heck?
Theft on the high. That's your new YouTube video for that
Theft
vlog.
on
The
the
theft
high
on the high
seas.
seas.
The crew member looked at me like, what just happened?
Okay, here's another one. That's
Yeah,
too
for real.
funny. But no, I'm looking forward to seeing that bar on the Utopia, that ice
Hmm.
cream bar with the toppings and stuff. That's gonna be great. I'm also excited for that food truck. There's some other
Hmm.
things. I think the lime and coconut, because I wonder where the lime and coconut is. They still have it, but it's not
Hmm.
as defined as on Utopia.
It's
Because I
huge
believe I
on
wonder
Utopia.
where that is. That's where the TV screen, where that
Hmm.
stadium seating is. Which I don't think there's a TV screen on Utopia. It hasn't been shown yet. Which I
I
hope
don't
there
think we've
is, because
seen
that
that
was
part
one of
of
the.
it yet,
Okay,
at least. I don't
yeah,
think we've
I
seen
haven't
that
seen
look
it.
or that
Yeah.
angle yet.
Yeah, I hope there is, because that was one of the things that was complaints on all the other ones, is there's no TV screen at the pool deck, which is like on every other Royal Caribbean ship at your pool deck for the most part, you have a TV screen. So, it's kind
Hmm.
of like, well, unfortunate, because you can watch the funny videos they have on, those they funny, they switched to they used to always on every cruise, this is a side story here, on every cruise they used to play like Red Bull TV. Now it's those like fail army videos, which it's always funny to watch in the
Hmm.
pool deck in between movies or whatever else they have on. So no, I'm bummed if they don't have that on there. But other than that, Utopia, I'm looking forward to getting on her.
Yeah.
Hopefully, I'll be on one of the first ones. The prices aren't bad, which was one of the funny things. Like Icon's like crazy expensive. Utopia, considering how new she is, she's
Hmm.
not terribly priced.
Right, exactly. And it is playing a factor that she is on the 3 and 4 night itineraries. And
True.
just to jump back to what you were saying earlier, not to, we keep jumping back and forth, but they really have perfected the Oasis class. Each two ships are in a pair, and each two get better than the last. And I think
Absolutely.
with Utopia, they've done so much. They've taken what's great about the originals, and they've also taken what's great about the Icon, which is essentially a Oasis class 2.0 in my opinion. But they've really
Yes.
taken what's great about the originals and the next latest and greatest, and put that into the Utopia of the Seas and the Wonder of the Seas, to make those ships just the best version the Oasis class can be.
That's what I love about Royal Caribbean. Royal Caribbean, even the amplifications,
Hmm.
whatever they do currently that they know works, they're not afraid to put it on other ships. Amplification is a prime example, right? When some things were rolling out for Icon, which this is something funny that I've now noticed, and I'll be, oh, okay. So that's the one thing to watch out, is that there's a new venue on board the cruise ship. Probably it's a test bed to see if it's going to work for a future build. So like, I mean, you look at the what's a good example? The water slide's a prime example, right? They
Hmm.
tested out on some of the ships on Navigator for probably testing for Icon, right?
Right,
So that's
exactly.
one thing I love about Royal Caribbean, is that they're not afraid to, build on what already works, right? Because now think about it. What they tried new things like the resort style pool deck, right? They tried that. They took a big bold move, and look at it now.
Hmm.
Almost every ship is getting this pool deck because it's that great. So that's one thing I love about Royal Caribbean, is they're not afraid to innovate, and that's one thing I think a lot of other
We
cruise
are.
lines need to learn, is that you have to take risks to get where you're going, right? I mean, let's look at Coco Cay for
Absolutely.
example, right? They're the only cruise line who has that crazy of an island, but now look, Carnival is building a similar island, right? So that's
Carnival's,
one
yep.
thing. Yes. I'm amazed. And good job, Royal Caribbean.
Yeah, absolutely. And, Royal Caribbean is really paving the path to continue to change the industry. What the
Absolutely.
Oasis class did for the industry is why the industry is the way it is today. And I think Icon's going to do the exact same thing for the next 20 plus years.
Absolutely. And again, as you mentioned here, it's gonna be crazy. Oasis is, it's been out for a while. The whole class has been out since
Hmm.
2010, 2009, right? And yet those ships don't seem old whatsoever. It's
Nope.
gonna be crazy in 30 years, right? We'll be going on these cruise ships and they still won't be like, you'll be like, oh, like typically now if you see like the Voyager, people are like, oh, that ship's so old. But in reality, they're not really. I mean, they're old,
Yeah.
but they don't feel old, right? So that's gonna be crazy going, fast forward 20 years, even 30 years. What in the world is the industry going to look like? And Oasis class, I presume they're going to release life for Royal Caribbean, but how in the world are they going to look compared to what the tonnage is out there now? Because I mean, think about it. We're in 2023. We're having Icon of the Seas. Just imagine in 20 years what they're coming out with. I mean,
Hmm.
it's going to be an interesting cruise industry, and I'm excited to be along for the ride over the next 20, 30 years.
Yep. And again, they continue to perfect the Oasis class and just make it bigger and better each and every time. And they
Absolutely.
the way they did it, back in 2009, it was such a incredible game changer, and it still is. Each variant of the Oasis class and each of these 6 ships, including Utopia, is going to be the best of the best out of the Oasis class. But you
It
know,
always is.
each one gets bigger and better than the last one, and they continue to just pave the way and change the game every time. It doesn't matter if it's the original. I mean, we just got off the Allure of the Seas. That's and it's basically its original state. No upgrades at all, and that ship is amazing. And nothing really compares,
Phenomenal.
even with the Allure not having upgrades. There's nothing in the industry that compares to Allure of the Seas.
Exactly.
The only ship that rivals the Oasis class is the Icon class or the other Oasis class ships. It's taken 12 to 13 years for another cruise line to even touch 200,000 tons, and it's MSC Cruises,
Yeah,
which, like, congratulations to them. That's incredible. But
hats
even with
off
the
to them.
World American class or the World America or the World Europa class, for MSC, they still don't come close to just the sheer magnitude of the Oasis class ships.
Absolutely. There's nothing in, as you mentioned, there's nothing like it. I mean, Carnival, even Carnival, I mean, that's another episode for a future podcast. Like, what in the world's going on with them, right? We're gonna say
Yep.
that for another episode coming up in the next
That's our
few
next
weeks.
episode,
But
actually. Next
yeah,
episode is the future of Carnival Next Generation ships, by the way. So stay tuned for next episode.
yeah, make sure you stay tuned, guys. If you're watching on YouTube, you hit the subscribe button with the bell. If you're watching on Spotify, make sure you like the podcast and you follow it so you can go ahead and be notified when that podcast drops. Because
Hmm.
Brandon and the panel, they're going to be discussing this. Because again, this is an interesting topic here. Because Carnival doesn't have new builds for a few years. I don't think they have any new builds scheduled or
There's
even in
no
the works.
orders.
Yeah, so that's again, stay tuned for that. But back to Royal Caribbean, they're not any way, shape, or form stopping. They got the Icon, they
Hmm.
got this, the Utopia of the Seas coming out, and then they have top secret Project Discovery supposedly in the
Ooh,
works.
that's
So
another one that we're gonna
that's
do in the next couple weeks.
oh yeah, that's gonna be another good one. So yeah, again, make sure you're staying tuned to this podcast because we got some hot topics that a lot of
Yep.
other channels in the cruise industry aren't talking about. So we're gonna dive into every single little detail here on this
Hmm.
podcast. But Brandon, I think we covered Utopia a decent amount.
Other than the
Probably the show in a few
itineraries,
years. Oh, besides the
yeah,
let's
just
dive into
to
that quickly here.
jump into that, and then we'll get into our last ship on the list here.
Yeah,
Again, proving that the Oasis class each and every time is just changing the industry and changing the way we do things here in the cruise industry. Utopia is going straight into 3 and 4 night itineraries from
yeah.
Port Canaveral, and yeah, just short Bahama cruises. Can you remember,
I
other
mean,
than Disney ship, has there ever been a ship that's gone straight into 3 and 4 night itineraries?
no, there hasn't been besides the
Exactly.
Disney Wish. Disney Wish, well, of course, it's Disney, and Disney their
Disney's
market
always done that.
canal, so
I think
it makes
Magic
sense, right?
originally was like that in '98, and
Yep.
the Dream was like that in 2011 or whenever that came out, and then the Wish.
Yeah,
But Disney's the only cruise line I've ever seen do that. But they've
absolutely.
really changed and evolved the weekend cruises, and I know it's its own special market, especially for us Florida cruisers and just
I
the
love the
locals
weekend
here in this
cruises.
market. Right? Exactly. I mean, we've we've worked our way up from Majesty of the Seas doing 3 and 4 night cruises to Coco Cay, which was essentially a sandbar with some trees on
Pretty
it.
much. Yeah.
And then, then we got Enchantment, and then we worked up to Mariner, which was a huge deal because we were getting a big
wow.
ship. That was a big deal back in 2017. We got a big ship on 3 and 4 night itineraries. And, going to Coco Cay, which had just been completely redone. And again, Royal Caribbean continues they continue to take risks and getting big rewards out of it because they are absolutely dominating the market. Again, not only with Utopia of the Seas, but this next ship on our list, Icon, is going to absolutely change the game again.
Oh my word. Icon is nothing short of game changing. Now, to some, it may look like, to us cruise industry veterans here, you may look like the Oasis class, but it's nothing like it. They're
Not
absolutely
at all.
game changing. Now, yes, there's a few things. Central Park, they know how much everyone loves that, so they said, okay, we're going to put that on the ship. The boardwalk is renamed, but it's a different vibe. It's totally different.
Completely different.
On the other Oasis class ships, it's kind of more like, some bars, restaurants, shops, and the Aqua Theater at the centerpiece. This one, nothing short of an area for the kids. If you have kids, this is the area. You got to book one of those surfside cabins so you can be close to the action, because trust me, your kids are never going to want to leave this place. Because what's cool is they put the kids club underneath it. It's all in one area. Very, very unique design.
Wow, I didn't
and again,
know that.
Royal Caribbean, I think to this day, Brandon, I think you know this really well. They're the only cruise line at this point in time who has like dedicated, legit themed neighborhoods. Other cruise lines may have wannabe, but they're the only ones who have legit neighborhoods on board.
Yeah, I think so. I think you're right. Actually, the Mardi Gras, the XL class, kind of has that neighborhood idea, but yeah,
still nothing like Royal Caribbean. Yeah.
Royal Caribbean's been doing that since 2009 on the Oasis, and they still continue to do it, and they just make it bigger and better every time.
Oh yeah, I mean Central Park and Icon, they said, oh, people love that area, so we're gonna make it bigger, right? Amazing area. Promenade. Now the Promenade, holy cow, that is
2 decks
amazing.
worth of stuff. There's lounges and bars that line the top row of the Promenade, and the Promenade below it has everything else that you would normally see.
The more and more we talk about this Icon of the Seas, more and more I want to book a sailing on the ship. I was originally like, it's just gonna be another Oasis 2.0, right?
I'm on sailing number 4, baby.
Closer and closer. Yeah, I don't know when I'm hoping to go on it, but I hope it's soon because trust me, I want to get on the ship. I want to be on the ship for you guys so I can show you this amazing ship, right? Because not many people will be able to go on it. So if I'm able to get the opportunity, whenever that is, I would love to go on it because this ship is nothing short of game changing with the Royal Promenade, with that new spear, which they're using for like a stair, and also which is pretty cool. I'm not sure if you know this, Brandon, but they're using that spear to help with the weight distribution of the ceiling, which is like, wow, amazing.
Really? Wow.
I think so. I think they said they needed a structural element instead of using rails or poles. They're going to use the spear. I forget the exact. It's in one of the making of the Icon episodes.
Right.
So, but wow. And then we didn't even talk the pool deck. I mean, the pool deck is you got the whole entire pool deck, which has like the biggest, like the first swim up bar on a cruise ship. I mean,
that's crazy.
That's cool.
That's
you
crazy.
Also got, some of the biggest pool at sea too on the Icon, and not to mention here you.
Oh, I think Tyler froze.
The cruise line, at any time up to this point, has cruise ships. Like the amazing ship, as well as the water park, right? I mean, MSC, Norwegian, they're getting into water slide, but still, Royal Caribbean, which I think is funny, Royal Caribbean, to this point in time, they weren't, again, up until, I think, Harmony, they were like, yeah, we don't do water slides. But now look at them.
They tested the waters with the Liberty of the Seas back, I think, maybe late 2015 is when they first started trying to put that on the ship. And it did really well on Liberty. And so I think they finally went, okay, this is kind of again, taking the big risk and getting big rewards. And
oh my word,
every time Royal Caribbean decides to take a risk, they end up changing the entire industry, and they get big rewards out of that.
Absolutely,
because that absolutely changed their ships. It used to be that it was more of an adult-facing cruise line, and not to say that it's now flooded with kids on Royal Caribbean, but now they're more of a family cruise line than it used to be. That they didn't do a whole lot when it came to families, or it was just more of just like not an older crowd, but just more of a traditional cruise line. You know,
That's something I love
everything
about
with the
Royal
water
Caribbean.
slides and just water parks you would picture with Carnival, but Royal Caribbean's changing the way. Really, you know, Carnival Cruise Line right now is just eating the dust of Royal Caribbean right now.
It's
It
unfortunate. They
really
were
is
at the
crazy.
top, now they're yeah,
Ever since COVID, Royal Caribbean has mopped the floor with absolutely everybody in the entire industry.
absolutely.
You know, again, nothing
And no,
against
this is
Carnival. I do love Carnival, and you know, as much as I've been sailing Royal Caribbean lately, and especially since after COVID, you know, I love Carnival. I've sailed with them more
yeah.
than anybody else, despite all my recent, you know, Royal cruises. But eh, Royal Caribbean is just they're just doing everything right now.
Yes, and that's one of the things. Like, as me, if this is the perfect cruise line, right? Because that's why I sailed. I've only sailed Royal Caribbean. I have 20
Hmm.
cruises. I've only sailed Royal
Hmm.
because they have the product. They have the product for everyone. You can take your grandparents with you. You can invite, your young cousins. You can invite your friends from school. Anyone can go on Royal Caribbean. It's also not too expensive. And their prices have gone up.
Except for
Everything has
Icon.
gone up nowadays. But still, they're not like for the value you get. I mean, I mean, they don't charge like unlike some cruise lines. Most of their main activities aren't nickel and diming, like the flow rider. They don't charge for that.
Hmm.
So again, there's a lot of value with Royal Caribbean, and it's for everyone, right? So that's one thing with Icon. Icon, yes, people are saying, oh, because of the water slides, it's going to be more of a kids ship. But in reality, there's still a lot of things for adults to do. You have the
Yeah.
Solarium, which I don't is yeah, they have an adults only area, and I don't think it's called the Solarium. It's like that adults only
Yeah, it's like
um,
Lookout Point or something like that, or something.
yeah, something like that. Yeah.
But yeah, to like tie it
At least
into, I mean, it's a even with the water park, it's you know that's there's water slides in the cruise industry that's been going around for a long time, but having a this is a true water park, and it's the
yes, like
size.
real.
This really seems to be about the size of what we see in Coco Cay in some areas, and you know to say that you know like you mentioned, there's fun for everybody. There's raft slides in this water park that will hold a family of four inside of a raft. That's what it's
Yeah,
designed to do.
unreal.
So it's not like they're just, you know, like, oh, this is a kid's water park. No, this is a family's water park. And that's just a
It's a
small corner and a small
full-fledged water park,
side, you know. Yeah, that's a small section of the ship. I wouldn't say a small
which is
section, but
crazy.
like compared to the rest of the size of this thing, it's a small little area on this
Oh
massive
yeah.
ship, and it's fun for everybody.
What I think is crazy is they basically threw the whole entire Thrill water park, right? And they put it on like a small area of the
Hmm.
ship, which is just the amount of slides that they have in this
Hmm.
area. Now the slides don't they're not like long. Like they're
Hmm.
still long slides, but they're not like, you're not gonna be on the slide for like a minute. But
Hmm.
still, these slides are legit slides. They're not cutting any corners with them being, not just a little, oh, you get a little tube and you go down a little
Hmm.
slide like a carnival. It's like the on the Vista, you have that little
Yeah.
tube slide. No, these are legit full fledged, like you would see at like a Disney water park,
Hmm.
or any other major water park on land. Again, one of the many things that I'm just like, I got to go on Icon because
Yep.
that doesn't even include the food options. There's a lot of new food
It's a
options on Icon
long
too. I mean,
list.
Icon, holy cow, I need to book a
Hmm.
sailing on that ship.
Yep. And again, I'm on the fourth ever sailing for Icon, and the hype that I have is just unmatched. You know, and kind of like we mentioned, you know, having Thrill Water Park, you know, as that water park on board Icon, it essentially is. And
Yeah,
I joke, but I'm serious about it when I say that the Icon of the Seas is Coco Cay on a ship.
it really is.
It
Has a
really and
swim up
truly is.
bar. I mean,
A swim up bar. It's got the big water park. It's got the hideaway beach type area, you know, the new adults only
yes,
area. It's, you know, they've
but
got that big pool in the back of the ship that's, you know, again, fun for everybody. You know, you got the giant water park. You've got a flow rider that's not too far beside or like behind that. But then right there
yeah,
you have a relaxation area with a pool with a large infinity pool, one of the first infinity pools at the sea, but this infinity pool is suspended 10 decks above, you know, the one below it. You know, I think it's like
unreal.
deck 8 is the next thing below it, and you're suspended on this, you know, infinity pool on deck 18.
Yeah, I mean, Icon again. The more and more I see of it, again, when I first saw it, I was like, "Oh, it's just going to be another ship." I was impressed, but I wasn't like,
Hmm.
I didn't understand the hype. The more and more closer it gets to delivery, the more and more I'm like, "This ship is unreal." I mean, the amount of things that Royal Caribbean has perfected on this ship from the
Hmm.
original Oasis class, it's amazing. Plus, not to add the Aquadome. Holy cow! I was watching Nick Weir, the vice president of entertainment at Royal Caribbean. He
Yep.
showed a video of all the jets and the
Oh,
the
it's
fountains on
unbelievable.
today. Holy cow! Again, the more and more the ship gets closer to delivery, the more and more hype I feel, and I'm like, I need to book this cruise because it's amazing.
And funny you mentioned the Aquadome, that it's truly inspired by the Aqua Theater and 270 combined. And that's really what
Hmm.
they're trying to accomplish here. 270 from the Quantum class, and then the Aqua
Merging it to
Theater
one.
from the Oasis class. And they really perfected it and merged the two together because it does have those LED screens that the 270 has for their entertainment venue and for their shows. But it also has the Aqua Theater element with the pool and the diving and acrobatics. But believe it or not, the diving and the high dives on Icon of the Seas in that Aquadome is a higher high dive than the Oasis class. And you're inside
Unreal.
of a dome.
That is high already. The Oasis class is crazy high. I mean, when we were on the cruise, we're like, how on earth do you do it, right? I mean,
Hmm.
the
That's
pool
a
is so
small
small, and
pool.
you're like, wow. But this is another area, Brandon. This is an area a lot of us are forgetting too. A Royal Caribbean classic reinvented on the Icon Studio B, which is now going to be, I believe, forget the technical name of it,
I
but
forgot, yeah.
they're redoing the ice skating rink, which is,
It's
I
a
mean,
circle.
that has never changed. Yes, it's absolutely amazing, right? Because that's one of the biggest complaints with the other ships, like you on, Oasis or something, is if you depending where you sit in the room, you don't get a good view. But now every seat in the room has a great view,
Hmm.
which is I'm looking forward to this. I mean, I was watching again Nick Weir. Nick Weir's been teasing a lot of the Royal Caribbean Entertainment for
Hmm.
Icon, and holy cow, I'm excited for this, to say the least.
Absolutely. And again, it's it's the Oasis class 2.0 is exactly in
Absolutely.
everything that that class is. If they were to build the Oasis, they start over Project Genesis, which is for those who don't know, Project Genesis was the original code name for the Oasis class. Back in 2007, 2008, when the ship was first ordered and the project was announced, it was Project Genesis before it was Oasis of the
Hmm.
Seas. But if they were to restart Project Genesis from 2023, you would end up with Icon of the Seas.
Absolutely. No, I'm looking forward to it. It is an amazing ship. I am again very excited to see this ship in South Florida in a few weeks. Legit, it's going to be a few weeks, which is hard.
Hmm.
It's just weird to say, right? Because it's coming out and it's getting delivered in the next few days or weeks, and then
Right.
it
She
comes to
just
Florida
passed.
in January.
Yep. She just passed her
Yeah.
final round of sea trials. So she is set for delivery very soon. Icon of the Seas is set to make her maiden voyage from the port of Miami on January 17th, I believe it is,
Yep.
or somewhere between mid to late
I think
January.
so.
But I will be on the fourth ever sailing on February
Yep.
17th. So there's a lot of content coming from that cruise. Again, to say my excitement for that is unmatched is an understatement because I know
Yeah.
the Oasis and the Allure is what got me into cruising when I was a very young kid. But I mean, the Icon is basically me. I feel like I'm basically 12-year-old me watching the Icon or watching the Oasis and Allure being built. But now I'm sailing on that ship, one of its first ever sailings as an adult. Getting the opportunity to actually do that. But you know,
Yeah.
so
Absolutely.
so yeah, we've spent a lot of time, and we've only scratched the surface on Icon of
Yeah.
the
Really,
Seas.
no
It's
joke.
truly an absolute incredible thing. When we talked about Cunard earlier and said, if you ever have a chance to go see a Cunard ship in port, go see it. I feel like the same thing is anytime you see a Icon class ship, or you have the opportunity, go see it because you will not be
Absolutely.
disappointed. It's just, you know, for people like you and me, we go ship spotting. That's normal for us. We like to go see cruise ships
Yeah.
and things like that. But like,
Yeah.
just for even the crew, like the casual cruiser, just going out to watch a ship and like go see a ship in person, seeing the Icon of the Seas in person is just going to just change your perspective on like everything.
Yeah.
Of course, I haven't
Absolutely.
seen
No,
it
I'm looking
before
forward
yet,
to it.
or at least, but it's going
Yeah.
to be a absolute wonder of the world to see the Icon of the Seas.
No, absolutely. It's going to be an icon at sea. Oh, okay, there. That's
It,
why I named the ship that.
their
Anyway,
marketing is
guys,
their marketing is
yeah,
the icon of vacations.
it
So,
pretty much is.
but
Anyway,
yeah,
guys, I think
we'll
it's
wrap
going to
up.
wrap up our podcast today. Yep.
Yep. So we'll enough with one last thing here. Is there what ship out of all? I mean, I think I know the answer to this, but what ship are you most excited to see next year?
Well, that unfortunately, you kind of guessed it already. Icon of the Seas.
Icon
I
of the
mean, I
Seas,
was at
baby.
Utopia. Like Utopia is great. Utopia is my number 2. But I mean,
Hmm.
so many good ships. I mean, it's kind of hard to pick one. Brandon, what's yours?
It's definitely going to be Icon of the Seas for me. And of
Yeah,
course, that's why we saved the best for last. And, you know, again, I'm on
absolutely.
one of the first sailings for Icon. I'm on one of the first sailings for Utopia. And those are going to be those are my big 2 cruises next year. And I really can't wait. And I'm very, very excited for it. But like Tyler said, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up. I hope everybody enjoyed this podcast. We did pre-record it like unlike normal with our normal live streams. Due to Thanksgiving holiday, we weren't sure if we were actually going to
And
make out
I'm
the
on
live
a boat.
stream. Yep, Tyler is currently on. By the time you guys see this, if you're
Independence of
watching
the
it,
Seas.
yep, he is on Independence of the Seas. He was actually just on the Allure with us just a couple days ago. But yeah, lots of content over on his channel. Go check him out, The Tyler Show. And of course, if you want to check out my Allure of the Seas cruise vlogs, you know, go again on my channel over on YouTube if you're watching on Spotify. And then, of course, we have Icon of the Seas content coming for you really soon as well. So thank you guys so much for watching. Again, these podcasts are every Wednesday at 6:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, with the Spotify upload just the following morning on Thursday. So, but of course, this one will be going out on Spotify since it's pre-recorded at 6:30 on Wednesday. But again, we'll see you next time. We're going to be talking about the future generation ships for Carnival Cruise Line. Anyways, enough rambling with our outro here. Have a good night, everybody.
Have a good one. Good night. See you later.